Welcome to Big4accountingfirms.com podcast. This is episode 32. This episode is brought to you by our two books on Amazon, The Big Four Recruiting Guide and Big Four Accounting Firms Interview Questions, which has 32 interview questions and answers that will get you ready for your Big Four interview. We're going to be discussing some important news about PwC. Last week, news broke that the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences will keep PwC as their official ballot counter. In case you've forgotten, PwC botched the Best Picture Award in February. PwC partner Brian Cullinan erroneously handed Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty the wrong envelope for Best Picture. Brian handed the envelope for Best Actress to Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway instead of the envelope for Best Picture. Both Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway had difficulty reading because of their advanced age, and this was brought up in later interviews. They saw La La Land on the winning card, and Faye Dunaway just read it aloud. Instead, the movie Moonlight should have won. Now, before this controversy, PwC had been performing these duties for over 83 years. So any departure from using them would have been a huge blow to PwC's reputation. And PwC already took a huge blow just by screwing this thing up. After choosing to retain PwC, the Academy of Motion Picture chose to make a statement. And they stated that PwC made a presentation of revised protocols and ambitious controls. The Academy also stated that they were unsparing in their assessment that the mistake made by the representatives of the firm was unacceptable. There really is no doubt that this was unacceptable. Brian Cullinan tweeted out evidence of how unacceptable this was when he tweeted out a picture of Emma Stone while he stood backstage. While he was tweeting, he should have been overseeing the Best Picture presentation. But even after the wrong candidate had been announced for Best Picture, both him and Martha Ruiz were supposed to memorize the winners of the categories in case something like this happened. What they should have done is rush on stage immediately instead of letting the wrong movie accept an award that wasn't theirs. But now PwC will be getting a second chance, but these partners will not. Martha Ruiz and Brian Cullinan will not be allowed to return to the Oscars. These two are going to have to find other accounts to keep them busy for the rest of their Januaries and Februaries at PwC. This also doesn't bode well for both of their year-end reviews. In order to retain the account, PwC had to show that they put new controls in place. PwC supposedly had an extensive presentation with the Academy to show these new protocols in order to retain the account. I wonder if part of this presentation was Tim Ryan groveling. Now, the first control they put in place is that PwC will not be allowed to have any distracting electronics in the backstage area this year. The second one is that there will be a PwC employee backstage with knowledge of the winners, and they'll be sitting with the show producers in case there's any mix-up. Reportedly, this employee will be a partner. And lastly, the ballot partners have gained increased oversight over the process, and these will be Tim Ryan and Rick Rosas. Rick Rosas was the co-balloting leader for 12 years. It's interesting that despite what happened, they're giving them more oversight roles instead of less oversight roles. In conclusion, it'll be interesting to see what PwC does in the run-up to the Oscars next year. This year, they did a whole public relations campaign before the Oscars. They had Briefy, which was the ballot briefcase, travel all around the country and even to Mexico before the Oscars. When we wrote on this site that PwC seemed a bit unprofessional while doing this and that they weren't taking their job seriously before they botched the Best Picture presentation. We'll have to wait and see how they treat the importance of their job this year. Tim Ryan has had a brutal year at the helm of the U.S. arm of PwC. In his time as U.S. chairman, they settled the Taylor Bean lawsuit, MF Global lawsuit, and had a huge public mishap at the Oscars. The Taylor Bean and MF Global lawsuits were initially in the billions of dollars of damages. It is unknown what these cases were eventually settled for. I'm sure when Tim Ryan spoke to the Academy, he was probably ready to pay them from his own personal account in order to retain the Academy as a client. Any further damage to PwC's reputation might have left Ryan's job up in the air. We'll have to see how Tim Ryan does in his second year at the helm of PwC. And that's all we have for today. Thanks for listening. Make sure to check out our books on Amazon, The Big Four Accounting Firms Recruiting Guide and Big Four Accounting Firms Interview Questions, which has 32 interview questions and answers to help you in your interview. Also, make sure to visit our website, big4accountingfirms.com. Thank you. We'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe, share, and review this podcast.